Hello again, this is Dan from the Fundamentals with yet another unboxing of a game from Wizkids. Again, thanks for providing these things. This is going to be a more complicated game than Doppelganger or Galactic Enterprises, but it is one that I'm really excited about because it's from one of my favorite TV shows. It is The Expanse. It's big. It's a big game. Not huge, but it's very tall. It's a very tall game. See, very, very tall. It's about a foot tall, and again, it's thin, but it's heavy because there's a lot packed into it. With kids, there's a lot of very economical, very toit packing. This is their board game of The Expanse, officially licensed. Designed by Jeff Engelstein, and with a consultation from James S.A. Corey, who is, of course, the pen name of the two men who write the game and are producers on the show. I was excited about this because I'm a huge fan of The Expanse, and it's clear, thanks to their collaboration with the authors and with the show, that it is a labor of love that really feels like, at least aesthetically, again, like the show. So the box itself, again, very high quality, very beautiful. It's got the logo on it. You can see, and I'm really excited to dig in. So there we go. So let's get this top off. This is a game, by the way, for 2 to 4 players, again, ages 14 and up, 60 minutes. It's a strategy game. It's been compared to Twilight Struggle, a very famous sort of competitive game, rather than being a mix of, rather than being a sort of a Cold War. In real life, it is the space Cold War that kind of takes up most of the plot of The Expanse, which you don't necessarily have to watch the show, read the book to enjoy this game. I can guess. However, as with most licensed games, the flavor is really important. So, start out with, we have our counters for our fleets. Everyone controls a fleet. There's 4 factions. If you're a 2-player game, you play as either the MCR, which is not My Chemical Romance, sadly. That's the Martian colony government. The UN. Now, if you play a 3-player game, you can play with the OPA, which are not a group of anarchist Greeks. They are a group of anarchist mutants from the Belt, or there's 4 of you. One person plays as Protogen, the cyberpunk, terrifying company, science group that probably was founded by Elon Musk anyway. You have fleets. These are basically your people. The game essentially is using your resources, using your fleets to gather resources, build bases, build colonies, and assert your dominance over everyone. Now this little bit, how about out? This is the that ship on the box. This is the Rosacente. Yeah. This is that ship on the box. It is the Rocinante. It is the ship the heroes, protagonists, we can say, drive around to get into all their spacefaring shenanigans. It is actually a token that passes between the players because they're a factionless group, and they reflect that by giving bonuses to anybody and changing constantly. But full book, pretty big, pretty thick, but chock full of art and references to the show. Very well laid out, very easy to read. The fonts are the same the show uses, that kind of spacey font. Explaining the rules pretty straightforward. And of course on the back, showing you, as in other Wizkids games, how the game works. Then another insert. Quick start rules. You gotta love quick start rules in a strategy game like this, especially for when you're learning. Now, you get, these are the mats that, this is the game board. Yes. There we go, come on. There we go. This is the game board. This is the game board. You can see we have our Mars, which is the home planet of the MCR, Thoth, the home planet of Protogen, Earth, the home planet of the United Nations, and Tycho, the main planet of the OPA, and then of course Saturn and Jupiter. Now, the way that what planets the planets each have, we'll look at Saturn. The planets each have these bases where you can see a resource, in this case water, and these are places where you can put a fleet to harvest that resource and eventually build colonies, that kind of thing. So this is now Saturn doesn't come into play. Saturn and Jupiter don't come into play unless you have enough people. Otherwise, you mainly stick to fighting the inner planets and the belt. Basically, more factions, the more room you need to grow. This game board, as you can see, is very nice. It's thick, it's glossy, easy to read. Feels like you're planning out a battle, in a space battle. It feels like a screen, aesthetically. Now you have more wooden cubes. Yay! Just like with many games, the wooden cubes, they're so hot right now. Everyone loves wooden cubes. Of course, they've added this is the one per faction, and then these big boys, which are part of the UN. The UN have special bonuses towards things. Each of the factions have their own special thing that helps them out, obviously. Then we have the action deck, similar to in the Star Trek game. There are these actions, which are things that happen that can change the way the gameplay is going. They're also things that you buy and use. And this is where a lot of the flavor comes in. You've got the news feed, the slingshot racing, food shortages. See, there's the guy from that one backstory. Now you'll notice these symbols here. Basically, these events. That's what these are. These are events, I should say. Hey, look, it's the guy who was in Dark Matter, but then also showed up in this. These are the only factions that can do this. So if the MCR were to have this, MCR does not want Sematimba because they can't use him. But Drummer can only be used by the MCR or the OPA. They also can only be used, obviously, if they have enough players, because you have to have the OPA in play. So yeah, they do everything from performing an action to moving fleets to, these are people and all these kind of things. Ooh, there's a spooky hybrid. Red World to win. Ooh, destruction of Demos. So you can kind of see there's that guy. He's a dick. Captain Shadid. Dominoes. That's not pizza. Oh, and this is the Mormon spaceship. So these are the event cards. Now the way the game runs is it's organized around these. These are scorecards. These are randomly placed throughout the deck, and each time there's 6 of them. When all 6 are drawn, the game ends. What they do is once they're drawn, you follow these steps, and then things change around, and the Rocinante moves to a new owner, basically, and you keep going. The score helps you tally up your AP, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of got that feel where there's a bit of RNG. You don't know when things are going to happen, so you've got to kind of be quick about it. But it also puts a hard time limit, which is why they can kind of say it's so fast. And as a comparison to Twilight Struggle, it has the full Twilight Struggle, not the shorter versions. It is a very quick strategy game. Again, about an hour. Now, these little buggers are technologies. These little buggers they are tech that each faction gets that affects the game and count for points. The MCR's got Dominant, we've got MCR, we've got UN, PA scrap ships, infiltration. These are just little extra bits that you get from your place you have influence on. But they're really cute, little tiny cards. Then finally we have our character mats. So depending on what who you are, you've got these mats that show you things. So we've got the MCR, shows you who they are, where they're from, what their battleship. Each of their battleships have a certain ability, and what they get a special bonus to. This is the OPA, led by Fred Johnson. Although, again, if you watch the show, that's debatable. This came out in 2017, so they can spend an action point to place any influence on any belt's outer planet base, and no fleet required. They kind of have that insurgent ability to make cells. Protogen, led by Jules Pierre Mao, who can pay 0 to keep an event instead of 1 control point. Again, these guys are only playable if you do a 4-player game. And then the United Nations, which is led by Christian by Ambassador Avasarala. Their whole thing, being Earth and all that kind of stuff. First 2 action card slots cost 0 CP instead of just the first. And they, of course, have special things. You can see on the back, these all have what their faction has in them. They've got their tokens, their influence cubes, where their fleets start. They've got two on Earth, 1 on Sirius, Tycho, and Jupiter, and how much influence they have. Influence, that's what the cubes are, by the way, is what you use to, show your dominance. So you start them and move them around. Now, and of course, the Rocinante have their own. Again, this is, by the way, really nice because it's like a little postcard of the ship. But the Rocinante has its own abilities. It counts as a fleet, can't be removed, so there's cards that remove fleets. You can't remove them, they're too stubborn. And then their crew abilities, they actually have 1 of each. So it's sort of the last thing you get from having them before they move away during scores and stuff. You can use them instead of a kept event, by the way. They go to the lowest person. They work with whoever's got in the worst shape, but they each have their own special ability. Holden can spread influence. Naomi can move a band, which, for the record, the bands are the 3 sectors, the inner planets, the belt, and the outer planet. So Naomi can just jump you. Alex Kamal can move the Rocinante to any orbit. It's any of the planets. And then Amos, boop, can just wreck a fleet because he is a crazy motherfucker. So, that, the Rocinante. This game is, it's been out for a little while. It's been out since last October. So you can get it pretty easily. It's on Amazon. It's on the Wizkids site. It's at all local game stores. It's been a very well-regarded game. Currently retailing for $49.99. That price may shift, especially on Amazon. But if you're into the Expanse, again, the flavor here is top-notch. It really feels like a game. It really feels like the Expanse. Like it feels like it's the show. So if you're into that, this could be worth looking into. But don't go rushing out just yet, because I will be having a full review of this game, how it plays, how the factions work, all that kind of stuff, up on the fundamentals as soon as possible. And until then, happy gaming.